Guys, hopefully I won't screw you guys up. Is this okay sitting? You guys don't mind?
Yeah, you're
Thank you. So I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate you guys coming, and hopefully you learn something, maybe, maybe not. But and please ask questions, because I do a 3-hour CE class, and like me being an agent from another company, you guys are always welcome. We do it over at Home Smart, and it's a 3-hour agency law and more in-depth, mostly marketing stuff. But I have to do agency law just so you guys get your 3-hour CEs, which I know nothing about, but it satisfies the commissioner. So I'm going to go over what she asked me to just talk about listings. There might be some other things I may add on here. So I just kind of my field I use for my class. So my background, just a little bit, is I've been out in the Valley since the mid-70s. My dad moved out here in '64, and I used to come out here and visit my brother. I lived in Atlanta, so we'd come out here a couple times a year. So pretty much north central. And the running joke, as everybody knows, when I drive to Scottsdale, I have to get on 2 freeways. That's they all felt sorry for me. Jeremy was taking up a donation, GoFundMe, because he knows it's a long drive. But anyway, I love what I do. But so I ended up playing. I played college baseball, and really doing the baseball thing and playing sports really kind of carries over for me for real estate. Actually, I coached my kids for a long time, and I'm still pissed off because my daughter, we lost a t-ball game when she was 5, and I still remember this person dropping 2 fly balls in the outfield. But it's just kind of that mentality kind of carries over for me in real estate. So when I got out of, I played college baseball at Coastal Carolina. Any guys U of A graduates? No? Okay, anyway, Coastal actually won the baseball championship a couple years ago. So I came out here in mid-70s, and my dad had a nightclub called the Jockey Club. If any of you guys someday. Anyway, so that was my, if you guys do remember, you're old. But that was, so we had that club.
So we'll never admit it. Right?
No, that's exactly right. We won't admit it. You know, thank God for surgeries and all kinds of stuff there. But and actually, so we had that club for about 8 years, and then we sold that. It was at Highland and 20th Street. And then I got into commercial real estate for a year, and then we ended up opening a second club over at Central Calmback, and that was also a second jockey club. Matter of fact, if any of you guys ever saw the movie Waiting to Exhale with Whitney Houston, that was filmed in our club, and it was funny because all the extras that came in, anybody was to look at Whitney with all the actresses and actors that had in there was kicked out. But it was kind of a cool deal. But I just knew at the end of the second tier, I was pretty much done dealing with the nightclub. So Mark Moskowitz, some of you guys may remember, was the #1 actually realtor in the Valley, and pretty much the first guy that ever did teams. Obviously, you guys are really big on teams, but back in the early '90s when I first started, there was no such thing as really teams. So Mark kind of created the team concept, and he knew that I knew a lot of people in the Valley, and his comment to me was, "Look, I'd love to have you as partner," which basically meant he would make money off me, which is fine. But I needed that mentorship, and I think when I get into the listing part, to me, I do my big 3-hour class. The mentor thing was so important to me because Mark was predominantly. You haven't missed anything. You're good. You haven't missed. You're fine. I'm just BSing right now. But the thing about Mark, which he was great about, he was a listing agent. That's really what kind of I really wanted to be. But I had to learn to pay my dues. And it was great because we go on listing appointments because, again, I knew a lot of people, but I was a nightclub slug for so long. I needed that credibility with Mark, so we'd go on the appointment, and he would just. If you guys here with Russell Shaw, so as much as you know, Russell likes to talk. Mark would talk, and it's hard for me because I'd be sitting on this listing appointment with clients of mine that the reason they're hiring us is because of Mark, and he would talk for an hour, and every once in a while I'd crack a joke, which probably wasn't funny. I just wanted people to know I existed. But we'd get the listing, and then Mark would get lost, and that's kind of what forced me to learn how to deal with the listings. He always showed up for payday, which was good timing for him. But the mentorship for the 5 years I was with Mark at Realty Executives was so important because I learned how to do everything. I know probably the biggest mistake, and I'm kind of skipping around, I see people doing now is they get out of real estate school and they think they know all about water rights, which you'll never see a water rights question, and they go on their own. Their first sale they make is with grandpa, grandma, make $25,000, $30,000, and they're totally lost. And I try to sit down with people as much as I possibly can and say, get a mentor, even if it's a year, 2 years. I mean, I did it for 5 years because plus I was kind of scared to go on my own, even though I thought I was ready, but I really wasn't. And so really there's no time frame. You gotta know when that time was right. But the mentor thing is just so important. I don't care if you've been doing it for a long time or especially brand new. So what Mark again got me involved with is listings. So that kind of goes on there. I'm just kind of, and really, so as I said, to me the most successful part that helped me is having the mentor, and especially there's a lot. You guys have a lot of training. I don't know if this is going to be any training for you today, but the classes that my home group or other places offer are so important. But again, I just put so much emphasis on the mentorship. A couple things I say in the class, and I'm going to look at my notes a few times just because I usually have a board up there. That was one question Kelly asked me. If you guys, I'm AOL, so that tells you how technology challenged I am. So I don't know any of my passwords. My assistant's been with me for 19 years. So if you ask me anything about technology, skip to the next question. So hopefully I'll help you. But the one thing about it is keeping a positive attitude. I'm seeing, we're lucky that I typically list about 12 to 15 homes a month, and I work by myself. I have an assistant that's been with me for about 19 years now. As a matter of fact, when I stole her from Realty Executives, they fined me $1,000 because I took an employee. It's probably one of the best investments I ever made. But she's amazing and allows me to have a life as much as I possibly can, but also, again, takes care of listings and all the work there. But that is really, really a big key. That it frees me up to be able to go on listings, having somebody else have to do the paperwork, which I don't really, I'm real good at. Although I do input all my listings, I am concerned about our new system, which I've hired Jeff Raskin. If you guys haven't worked with Jeff before, he's helping us all learn all the new stuff there. But anyway, it's just keeping positive, because even the last few weeks I've had some deals that you just want to punch the other realtor if that was legal, because communication to me is such a big deal. I'm kind of skipping around, but one thing that, if you guys have ever worked with me or know people who worked with me, I answer my phone all the time, and that is, I can't tell you how important that is, especially if you're a listing agent. And predominantly, a lot of the calls that you're going to get are not going to be pleasant calls, but when you do specialize in listings, you're going to have sellers call. I just had a guy called me today. I thought he was going to fire me from a house we've had, and actually it was a price reduction, but I was like, my stomach is like, okay, don't fire me. It's a great listing. It's $1.5 million. But I called him. I sucked it up because I had a long drive over here. But you just never know what that phone call is going to be. But the fact is, you got to call people, and you got to return the call. And be surprised sometimes getting listings, because people will call me and say, I can't believe you answered your phone. Is this really you? And I go, yeah. But I answered my phone because of that. I got the listing, and other people that she or he had called didn't. So just, if there's one trick or one part of it, I'd say try as much as possible to answer. If I know my kids aren't at home anymore, my daughter actually works for me now as an assistant. My wife's a nervous wreck because she thinks I'm going to ruin her. She's 27, but she's great. And plus I'm smart enough to know that the people that are her friends, if they do want to buy a house, they're not going to buy it from an old dude, they're going to buy it from her. So it's kind of nice having her there. If we can get along, we certainly have our moments as father-daughters do, and you guys have worked with family, know how that goes. But since I came from partnership, I really did not want to have partners. In my area that I'm lucky enough to specialize in North Central, is probably like about a 10-mile radius, and that's pretty much what I do, everything there. And all my advertising is focused on that. Matter of fact, I met with, I don't know if you guys have ever advertised in Homes and Land. I met with a lady that just bought Homes and Land today, and she really wanted me to start advertising there because she wanted money. And I go, I think you have a great magazine. I think it's, when I first left Realty Executives, I did advertise in Homes and Land for a year to market my listings, and I don't think I got one phone call, but it appeased my sellers by being somewhere where they could see my ads. But it wasn't for me. Now I said, look, I'll promote you to my group. I'm happy to do that. But it's just, that since that goes all over the valley, I just didn't feel like that was for me as a territorial deal. So you're going to have your highs and lows. Obviously, there's the fear of failure, which I pretty much have. And it's funny that when I do my class, my intro, that one of the people introduced me every time saying that I hate January 1st. And of course, I don't have a nightclub anymore. I'm not messed up like we used to have fun. We had the club. But I hate January 1st for one reason, and it's because my sales start at zero. You know, I had the clock with your company. I'm sure you guys do the same thing. No matter how many homes you sold, and as of December 31st, they say 2018, all of a sudden it goes to zero. Now it's like, oh my God, I'm like everybody else. What do I do? So my wife is sleeping, my dogs are sleeping. I'm actually at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day. What a loser I am, still being up. But I'm like emailing all my clients on their, hey, you know, I saw you a few months ago. Are you looking to possibly, you know, list now? Or especially the ones that have listing, I'm trying to get the price reduced. And believe it or not, by the end of the day, there are some other people that would say I got like 3 price reductions, and so it just. And I'm trying to recreate, because every year, even though I've been doing this for almost 27 years now, there's challenges. And if you try to sit on your laurels, and I know you guys have some big hitters here, you can't sit in your laurels, because people, it's a very competitive business we're in, and I'm just every year. That first month of January, I'm just trying to recreate or trying to figure out something different that's going to get me motivated and also get people to hire me. So if you guys have any questions at all, please, anybody have any questions? So here's one thing that I always say in my class too, is why you want to be a listing agent. The top agents in the markets, wherever you live, are listing agents. I mean, while we're sitting here in class, hopefully people are showing the listings that we have, or you guys have, and certainly those of you guys that specialize in buyers, I certainly appreciate what you do. It's a lot of work in being a buyer. Matter of fact, my daughter now, I'm giving her buyers, and now being 27, she'll ask me, Dad, are they a real buyer before you give them to me? And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I can't tell my wife what a bitch my daughter is. My wife is going to look at me going, you're the asshole. Anyway, so you're not going to win that battle, so I'm just venting to you guys that I'm going, Julian, I can't promise you. And plus, you're billing me hourly for taking them out in your car, plus the commission. Anyway, that's my daughter. I can't complain about it. But the listing agents control the market. And interesting enough, I know you guys had Russell here a couple months ago, and I've talked about in my class that there's no better marketing genius than him. When I first started way back when, we used to have the awards deal, that the President's Club that the agents got. Unfortunately, the round table, they stopped doing that. Russell was part of that, but he really, when you look at that, and I remember about a couple of years ago, I was a couple of different panels with Russell, and I vowed I would never be on another panel with him, because he never lets me talk. You know, I'm gonna give up 2 hours to be in a panel. He'll go on forever. So I saw him about 3 or 4 months ago, and he said, I heard you badmouth me in one of your classes. And I said, Russell, I didn't badmouth you. I mean, because first of all, the guy was almost bankrupt 20-something years ago, and 30 years, and I said, I don't badmouth, I just don't want to be in a panel with you. But I had him speak at my Home Smart meeting about last month actually, and I had about 200 people, and my only requirement for him is please don't use the F-bombs. I mean, I get my broker sitting right across. I know he behaved, but I was a nervous wreck that he was gonna. But you know what? He was amazing, because he talked about marketing. He knocked some of the other companies. You guys were fine. But what he did do, which was correct, we all get scared about these discount houses that are coming in. And his comment was spot on, because I remember when Costco was Price Club, they had a discount place, and we're all worried about that 1% deal. But the problem is they can't service it. They go bye-bye. So I know Zillow's coming in and all, but his comment is just do hard work, just hard work. And I thought that was pretty good. And he did, I'm pointing here, he did behave. But, you know, because the agents, again, when we start getting into marketing, there's a lot of different ways you can spend your money. But to me, that if you advertise, the best advertising you possibly have, at least for me, is having signs in a particular area. And then I also, you know, make it, hopefully convert it to sold sign. And I know that there's different groups, like, you guys, do any of you guys do Vulcan 7? Anybody ever heard of that? So, I'm kind of skipping my notes here, but so if I lose track here, I apologize. So Vulcan 7 is interesting. So about 2-3 years ago, I had a listing in Paradise Valley, and the seller said we want to take the house off the market for the month of December because we live in Alaska half the year. We're going back to Alaska, so I took it off. I did TOM, and she had just had a baby, and I'm getting to this is why that's part of the story here. So I get a call from her at 6 o'clock in the morning. I put TOM the night before, and literally she screamed at me at 5:30 in the morning. I'm answering my phone, and it's probably one time I should have answered, but all of a sudden people are calling her as a TOM saying, your listing is canceled, we want to hire you, will you hire us? And so she's screaming at me going, I just had a baby, and I go, do me a favor, next person that calls, I want to find out, who they are, and so this guy, she got the name and number, I called the guy back, I said, look, I'm not going to yell at you, I'm not going to turn you in, but first of all, it was TOM, how did you get the number? And Vulcan 7 is one of those sources that people pay $500 to $600 a month for expired and canceled listings, and my point is, so that's $6,000 a year that this guy or this girl, whoever gets those calls, and they're like Chandler, or as far as I'm concerned, it could be out here in Scottsdale, which I'm not going to list out here. But I'm going, why would you spend that kind of money knowing that they're sending it to 2,000 agents who all have the same information? So we end up, if you guys know Dax Watson, the attorney, I got in my best buddies on Channel 12. We actually did a story on Channel 12 about cold calling and calls that are not on the do not call list. Just saying, and she's on with her baby, which made for great TV. Just saying, you guys got to be careful when you make these calls to people that you don't know if it's on a do not call list. So the point is that people are paying $6,000 a month or $6,000 a year to buy, the expired and canceled. That's why when your listing gets canceled, the next day people are calling. So what I say in my class, I always make sure there's no broker in my class. I go, just to get, when I know my listing is canceled and if I don't like the seller, I'll put in the comments, please call before 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm just kidding, but I just, I like to do that. But that's, to me, the other thing that I don't understand, and again, I'm not going to knock me for doing it, is the same thing with Zillow. I get probably 2-3 emails a week from Zillow. A zip code just opened up, and there's probably a reason why it opened up. But again, you're spending $5,000-$6,000 a year. It's like $600 a month, maybe more, to buy a zip code. And I've been established in my area for a long time, so I'm not going to say somebody can't kick my butt in there, but I have a good edge. It's like Robert Jaffe is Arcadia, and you got Sandy Baldwin, so the big hitters in PV. It's like you got to know that somebody's not going to just hire you because you're calling them and because you have a zip code. And I actually spoke at one of my HomeSmart deals about a couple of years ago, just kind of really knocking Zillow, and I know now it's getting even more so. And again, I'm not saying that they're not, and when I go on listings, just that you guys know, I always look at what Zillow puts the price tag on, not because I believe them, but because your sellers are looking at that. And you almost have to know, just to go into battle, what they think and perceive the values are. And I'll do the Street Scout, which is Arizona Republic. Sorry, I already pissed somebody off. And some of the other ones, but I want to know what they're all saying, the value. And it just, again, I look at Zillow, and what I don't like about it, and I get they're a money-making machine. You look at, like, my zip code is 85020, and I look at 85020, the top 30 agents in 85020, I don't know one of them. And the more they pay, the more that they're higher up in the premier, and the executive, and I'm going, these guys are paying $6,000. I thought you were leaving me, so thank you for coming back. So, I'm thinking
you're still mad at me about that deal.
I'm not mad at you anymore, I promise you. I have a short memory though. But you look at it going, man, they're paying. How are you going to compete with the people who specialize in an area? That's hard work in there. So if it works for some of you guys, it's great. But I'm looking at these zip codes that Zillow and them are selling. I just think that's kind of a tough deal. But so the other thing I talk about too is, besides dominating an area, try to stay in an area if you have the possibility, is also refer out if you have to. I mean, when I first I do a lot of divorce work when I get hired by the courts, and they, husband and wife, or wherever it is in today's world, it can be anybody. I don't want to be politically correct. They obviously don't, yeah, you gotta be careful, I don't want to get in trouble. So if I said something wrong, I'm sorry. But I would just say married couples, how about that? We'll put it, so, but you'd be surprised that when you get hired, you know, neither one of them can agree who to hire because they both have a friend that's a realtor and they think somebody's getting money under the table. So they hired a third party. And it's interesting in dealing with the zip codes, I mean, dealing with the divorce, that and I get to, what's kind of cool, the position as a specialist, I get to set the price, and if they don't agree, I get to go to the court and I get to sign for them. But I got a listing actually in Mesa a couple years ago. It was a big listing, it was $1.5 million, and I didn't want to give the commission out, so I had 2 showings there, both of them were no-shows, right around 4 o'clock. It took me 2 hours to get home. I go, you know, this is crazy. Refer out. And that's what I would tell you guys. Sometimes the time doesn't make sense. I referred out the listing to an agent in my company who specialized in Mesa. And I said, look, I don't want any calls. It's your sign. I get 50% of the commission. You do all the work. You get the credit at the end. And we sold, and I got half the fee. And I just said, I do not want any calls. And I didn't. So to me, I got half of $1.3 million sales that we sold her for. And she was happy because I gave her $1.3 million referral, but we were 50-50 on that. So my point is, don't be afraid to refer out. The other thing I talk about a lot is that even your family. We talk about. You would think that when you become a realtor and you're the only realtor in the family, that your family is going to hire you. Doesn't always happen that way. So what I tell people too is, let's just say, God forbid, mom and dad pass away, you're the surviving realtor in the family, and you go, this is my listing. Well, what you got to remember, if you have siblings, they have spouses, and they're saying, well, Bobby's a brand new agent. They're all here seeing the money, the greed. We're not going to hire him because we want our money now. So they end up hiring somebody else, and I don't know if you guys have been through that, but I hear that a lot. So what I tell people, if you are inexperienced and you have a pretty good in because you're the surviving child as a realtor, co-list with somebody. I mean, you have to give half of your income to somebody else, but you know it's better than getting 0. So I always go through the 50% rule, is bring on a heavy hitter in the area that your folks, if that happens to be your folks or somebody you know, live in, get 50% of an income and that listing agent that you brought in the deal is going to be happy. I mean, if somebody said to me, I got a $1 million listing for you, I'd be happy to split half of it. That I wouldn't have gotten. But don't lose out because of greed. And I've lost a lot of deals before over the course of 27 years that, you know, when my kids went to a particular school, another 27, 29, I was a star realtor and loved by everybody while I was there. As soon as I left, they forget you. And there's another star realtor that comes up. So there is absolutely 0 loyalty with family. There's 0 loyalty with friends. It just happens. And I'm not real good about keeping in contact. I mean, fortunately, the area I live in, I run into a lot of the people and stuff. But I really, if at all possible, instead of losing a listing, lose a potential deal, do the 50%. Maybe it's a good friend that, you know, again, the spouses may not want you to be involved because you're new. But I would just tell you 100 times, do the 50%, get half of a deal if you can. Okay.
Bobby,
yes, sir.
I ran into the same thing, and they didn't want me to know their finances. So
They didn't want what? Sorry.
They didn't want me involved because I knew them personally.
Right.
They didn't want me involved in
Right.
their finances.
Right.
So I just referred it out, let somebody else do it.
You're exactly right. Various reasons. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And maybe, you know what? There is no set rule for referral. I mean, to me, if I'm doing like an area like I did in the Mesa, I'm going to try 50%. If it's a referral, I know something. But you want to still be on, if you're still part of it, I want 50% of it, but they don't want my name in there at all. I still may try for 50 if I'm giving somebody a pretty good deal. But you have to make that decision what you want to give away. But get something for the fact that you know, maybe your parents or somebody, but no greed in your family exists. It's just a common deal there. So again, marketing wise, which helps me with listings, I guess we're okay in time, good. I want to be in control of myself. I'm not going to let Zillow market me. I'm not going to let the other internet sites market me. I'm not going to let as I told you, the Vulcan 7. So I like to do my own marketing stuff, and so a couple things I do. One is we have a local paper in our area. Now again, when I was real nice to a lady with Homes and Land. I said, look, it's just not for me because it goes all over the valley. But we have a paper in North Central News, and I do 3 pages in there. And the picture in there is probably from 6 years ago, because I looked better 6 years ago. But I have 2 pages here. These are actually my listings. And then I do an article. And I would tell you the article is probably the best thing I've ever done. Even though my deadline is always the 15th every month, they call me the 15th every month when you haven't written your article yet. I go, damn. And I just think of things that, and my wife used to be, you guys remember a magazine called Raising Arizona Kids magazine?
Yeah.
So my wife was part of that. So when I wrote my first couple of articles, she would send my article to the editor, who would then redline like 99% of what I said in the article. I go, I'm not doing this anymore. She goes, you talk like a hillbilly. I go, I'm from Atlanta. I'm not having you, so anyway, this is just the way I talk. But the article was kind of cool because I didn't grow up in North Central, but I've been around it for a long time. But people, believe it or not, will read when you start talking about, and I tried to make it about me, which of course it is indirectly, but just say, I remember how the area growth is going to happen, changes are going to happen, because people, the older people lived in an area for a long time, hate to see all the new subdivisions and new stuff going on. So I'm kind of nice how we say that, but also saying, guys, I'm selling new homes, and the horse properties that we had in North Central now have been transplanted into new homes, and just the way of the world. But the article, if you ever get a chance, like an advertorial deal, that to me really carries a lot of weight, and I do that once a month there. The other things I do a lot of, I brought even Homes and Land. Simple things like, let me kind of go in order here. So even signs. So I use Champs, and if you guys can see the picture here, a lot of people always have the old L signs there. I like the PV signs. The PV signs, I think they charge like $57 for 6 months, but it sets you apart. It's a 2 pole deal, it's small. PV has to be 4 foot tall. I like that sign because it's classier looking, or you can do a tall twin if you're on a hillside lot, or if people have a fence in front of it. And again, so $60 over 6 months is $10 a month for a sign that makes you stand out there. And I'm not a believer, again, if you guys do it, that's fine. I love it when you see a sign up there, it's got like 9 different riders on there. I'm beautiful, which means I'm a piece of crap, or, and it's just, the more you put on there, I got a pool, who cares? I mean, but I want them to call me. What I do on my signs, which, my broker even questions sometimes, as soon as, pardon?
Your book called me.
Yeah. So what I do on my signs, I actually, as soon as I sell a house, no matter what time of night it is, I put a sold sign up. And people will say, well, why do you do that? And you're eliminating potential sign calls. And I find most of the sign calls that I get are not advantageous to my business as much as a sold sign weighs. If people are driving through a neighborhood and see a sold sign, they're likely to call me versus hopefully somebody else.
Sell as opposed to
Pardon?
buy.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could be a listing. It could, they maybe say, hey, we're thinking about listing our house. We've seen the sold sign. And again, it's funny when I get sign calls, and I don't always pay a lot of attention to it. I probably lose business sometimes that way. Or giving my daughter and have to make sure they're real buyers first. But when I do, do the sold. But I find when people call, the first thing they'll ask you what the price is, and they'll ask you 10 questions on the house, and they go, what's price too? I don't want to be your SOB. Didn't you know that when I told you the price of the house? But the sold sign, to me, and not sale pending, even my broker one day said, why don't you sell pending? To me, sold sounds more macho, and not everybody knows what sell pending is, but having a sold sign in a neighborhood, to me, shows that you know the neighborhood and it gets more active. Yes, sir?
What do your clients say when you list their house for sale and you put a sold sign in the front yard the next day?
I kind of tell them in the beginning I'm going to do that, and they go, well, aren't we losing out? And I go, the problem is, you guys know, as a realtor, you're not going to show a house that's pending. And so I think some of them get a little upset, but it depends how our relationship with the seller's been. But I've gotten away with it probably 99% of the time. Some of them might want to say, the time they do get pissed is if it does fall out of escrow. The second time around, I have to wait for the 15 days.
Yeah.
I'm being punished. But you know, they understand. I'm marketing myself, and especially, you know, if they got good money on it, they don't mind. But I just feel that, to me, works the better to market me and gets me more business. Yes, sir.
So when do you put that up? When you accept a contract or after?
If I put it up, you know, I don't sleep, so it could be at 2 o'clock in the morning. It could be
At what portion?
the sold sign.
Page,
Yeah, after.
I
they
put it
accept
the minute it
contract?
gets the deal's done. I mean, it could be if the deal's done at 10 o'clock at night, 10:15, I'll put sold up there.
Is that closing or accepting an offer?
That's accepting an offer. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I know that people have challenged the sold sign, saying sold doesn't mean sold. And I know the Department of Real Estate, even Bill Gray taught one of our classes recently, said there's nothing wrong, there's no finable deal to put sold on, even if it's a pending deal. I just think for me, it works better when people are driving through my neighborhood and see that sold sign there. So I appreciate you clarifying that. I do it the minute it goes in escrow. Yeah. And again, maybe I'm losing a sign call here or there, but I just know that, again, once it's pending, people don't want to, I mean, you guys you don't want to be hanging on for a deal to crash and lose a potential client that you're taking out.
What do you
So
say to your clients then when they ask about that?
what they say about the sold sign?
Yeah.
I just tell them that people are not going to show your house when it's pending in the computer. I mean, that's kind of, it's true, and so they're usually pretty good about it. I think because most of them I know for a long time, so they trust me.
Still, that's a fact.
Pardon?
Once it goes pending, realtors
Yeah,
aren't showing
right.
it.
No, they're not going to show it, and that's what I'm telling them. I said, you're not going to, it's not going to. Now, the only thing that hurt me a little bit in doing the sold sign, in our area, there's a lot of, not as many as it used to be, a lot of fix and flips. And the fix and flip, if you guys ever dealt with them, they do it where they use the whole 10 days, and the 10th day they haven't wholesaled out to somebody else, they cancel. So I had one that literally canceled 5 times. I think I was really picking some weird times to go take my sold sign off and put another one on, or so I literally 6 times, 5 times it failed until it finally closed. But that's, you know, that usually doesn't happen that many times, but hopefully not. But it works to me. It's just a marketing way for myself. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I thought you were saying. The other thing I really believe in, let me see if I have one here. I really like postcards, and let me see if I have, I think it was some there. There we go, good. So I'm a true believer, again, in marketing myself. So I do oversized postcards, and I have my assistant design it for me. And whatever I put on the cards, so I do 2 sets about every other month. What I like the oversized cards. So the first part of the month, I'm going to focus on homes. I really, really am very cautious. I don't want to categorize myself. I mean, we've had some pretty good sales this year in PV, which I don't do a lot of. But I don't want to. I don't want to ever call myself a luxury realtor, a high-rise realtor. I'm just a realtor. So the first part of the month, I'll do, and title companies, your title company, whoever you guys use, mortgage companies will do this. But I do, like the first part of the month, I'll do homes that are maybe under 500,000. And again, I'm working in a geographical area, so I'm going to have the title company pull the east, west, north, south areas of where I specialize in homes that are, if I feel like they're $500,000, I'm going to say, you know, the homes are maybe 1,500 to 2,000 square feet or under, and that's the labels I'll pull, and I'll put on my postcard homes I've sold in the area that are 500,000, and just say, here's what we've sold so far this year. And then the second part of the month, I'll go off the luxury market. I'll go off the homes that we've sold that are over $1 million or close to 900 million, and show the homes that we've sold in that price range. But I do it consistently. And one thing that I would tell you that, this is one of the discussions I had with the girl from Homes and Land today, that whatever you guys marketing dollars, I'm not here to tell you, you know, say I know it all, because I certainly don't. But you got to be consistent in your advertising. And like when I came over to HomeSmart, I wrote over about 300 agents from Realty Executives. And so I really said, guys, we need to be a presence in Homes and Land, because Realty Executives had a big presence there. And I said, let's try it. So I had 40 agents that ran small little ads, and we were on maybe, you know, 20 pages. And 3 months later, that 40 was down to 3. And they all go, well, nobody's calling us. I'm going, you gotta do it over 12 months. So if anything you get out of here today, try to be consistent. I know some months suck, but try to budget, you know, whether it's postcards. And these, just so you know, I use Mags Mail, MAGS, They do my mail outs for me. And when you do bulk, I think which is over 250, I don't even know what the hell stamp is now. Is it like 55 cents? I know it's forever, whatever that means. But they'll do it, I think it's like 30 cents for a postcard. So I'll do, and I do a little bit more than you guys probably want. I do like 1,000 each mail out. But if it's costing me $300 plus maybe I pay Mags Mail $100 to sort everything else, so it's $400 twice a month. One listing pays for that, and you'd be surprised how many times people will call me and just on the card. So that's one inexpensive way. The other thing I do sports magnets. I'm from Atlanta, so I'm not a hockey fan. So if you guys are hockey fans, I apologize. But I'll do like basketball, football, and baseball. And I usually do about 2,000 magnets. So I'll usually put, sometimes we'll mail these out to clients, or I have a bunch of stores that I have in North Central that allow me to put this in like a plastic deal, and I also will talk about them in my article. The problem when you order 2,000 magnets, and I've had the last year, is when the teams suck, you're stuck with like 1,990. Nobody wanted the Suns after 6 games. Nobody wanted the Cardinals after 6 games. So hopefully the baseball team will do good. But it's, it's be surprised sometimes that people, you go in houses and you see your magnet on the refrigerator. Of course, if you see another agent's magnet, you take theirs off, put yours on. So, but the magnets are really, you'd be surprised how inexpensive. These are like I use Magnolite, and I think they're like I want to say it's 40 cents a piece for a magnet, maybe whatever the setup fee is. But these really are very inexpensive to do. Sometimes people will tie into their schools. Like I know when my daughter was going to Xavier. Xavier asked me to do something one time, and whatever this for calendar, maybe some of the sports stuff at school, and so I did their calendar with my name on there. So you'd be surprised how these are so inexpensive and a really good way of marketing there. Okay.
How many homes are in your farm area?
I don't know. I probably should know, but I really don't know. I'm guessing. I can't even guess. To be honest with you, I know it's like a 15-mile square radius because I actually had something measured the other day. I'm guessing maybe a couple thousand. I don't know. Maybe not even that high. I don't even know.
How do you decide who gets your 1,000 person mail?
It could be. It could be more. But maybe it's less than that. I told you I'm a technology idiot. What was the question? Sorry.
How do you decide where the 1,000 postcards go?
So what I do is I will have, again, I have my geographical area. Again, if you guys don't know North Central, I'll say 15th Avenue to 24th or 16th Street, maybe Northern to Missouri, and I'll have the title company pick out. Again, if I'm going for homes that are under 500,000, I'll go 1,500 to 2,000 square foot homes, and they'll filter out the cards for me there. And then when I'm going luxury, I typically will go over 4,000 square feet. Sometimes it's a crazy number, but if I look through there and see that some of them, especially I don't want to send to realtors if I don't, if I can't. We're just sending out sometimes 1,500 or 2,000. You really can't go through all of them, but the title company picks out the area for me, and just a square footage is kind of how I disseminate between the luxury and the.
My question is kind of more towards how, you're very specific to an area, so
Right.
for agents that aren't at that level yet or can't really, how did you even get there in the first place? So.
Big question. Did you guys hear the question? So if you're not a specialist in the area, I really, that's where the team concept helped, being part of a team and having a mentor. So what I would do if I had a sale, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a target area. If you have a sale in a particular subdivision, send out cards just listed. I'm real reluctant. I've sold 4 homes in Paradise Valley this year. Been lucky to do that. But I'm real reluctant to advertise in the Paradise Valley Independent because if you do, like in my news, like I say, PV Independent, if you do it on a regular basis, like a 12-month rate, it's maybe $600, maybe each week to do But if you one-time shot, it's like $950, so it's real expensive. But I don't ever make a commitment to a seller that I can't keep the promise. So I'm not gonna tell them, hey guys, I'm gonna advertise in the PV Independent if I'm not gonna do that. But postcards really, to me, have been the most economic. But even if I'm a newbie to an area, if there's a religious group you're part of, or maybe somebody's in, I know somebody the other day that was in the U.S. Army, I should send it out to them. I mean, you'd be surprised, or something that maybe you have special interest, a sports team that your kids are part of, just somewhere, somehow, just let people know consistently that I'm a realtor, you know, and that's kind of what I did. I just started, actually when I first started, I had because my club had a pretty good mailing list, I started doing like a personal newsletter. And I did the newsletter for about a year. Actually, I did it longer. I did about 3 years. And in the newsletter, and it was directly mailed to that person, and I would include the magnet. So I did that, and I did it every month. I mean, it wore me out a little while, but it worked to the extent that people start realizing, hey, he's, you know, doing real estate, and that and sometimes people would say, please quit sending this to me, and I would send them like 4 more just to piss them off, but that's why I have no friends. But, you know, but the newsletter, the personal newsletter, you know, like if you look at some of I'm not knocking insurance companies, but if you look at some of the realtors too, it's the same, if you look at State Farm Insurance, the same letter that goes to somebody in Missouri, the same letter that goes here with recipes and stuff. I just try to make it personal, like here's what my kids are doing, maybe you don't care, but just something that, here's what we're doing, and you'd be surprised the personal letter worked with the magnet side. So I did that, I did probably about 3 or 4 years until finally got to the point where I just felt like I had enough basis to start doing something else with it. So let me see what else I do marketing wise. Yes, sir.
Question for you. So, obviously the cards that you send out are to gain listings for yourself.
Yes.
Do you also use those in a listing presentation to tell people, oh, I'm gonna advertise it this way?
I do. Great question.
Not really.
Yeah. You know what I'll do a lot more on the listing, the cards, because the cards really are to get listings. I will show them how we're advertising their listings on the internet. Like my assistant will do, like with Facebook, to me, and again, do not ask me any passwords, any technology, I just know what she does. But like she'll say, send us, you know, Instagram. My daughter's real big on Instagram. Take pictures of mom and you. So we'll put stuff on there. But Facebook is free. I mean, so what we'll put in there, hey, we just listed a house. And I really, when we sell a house, I always give kudos to the other agent, saying, hey, I appreciate so-and-so that did the cross sale. But so I will show them, they want to know where their home is being listed. The postcard probably, I really don't do just listed cards, which you guys certainly can do that. But I more or less just have different ways of showing them, here's, you know, I have the numbers where I think their home is worth, good comps, and I'll kind of get short time. So I'm real cautious when I go on a listing appointment. Let me finish the marketing. So this is what my daughter tells me, because I have Bill Gray teach, actually I got Bill Gray now at HomeSmart, and she goes, Dad, you do a great job of doing your 3-hour class, but you ramble, don't complete sentences. And I go, it's hard, you know, I'm a realtor, so. But the postcards work, let me see what else there is. The other thing that I really truly believe in, because I probably goes back to my sports days, is sponsor your local teams. You know, like, it's so inexpensive, like Little League, or now a lot of these local teams, your local Little Leagues and stuff, have like 10, 12 sports throughout the year, whether it be, you know, basketball, all different age groups. And I really love having the name on the back of the jersey. When I grew up playing baseball in Little League, we always had the sponsor's name on the jersey. So in our area, when I first started coaching my kids, there was no sponsors. I go, guys, this is a great way to make money. They go, okay, you're in charge. So I started, the coaches all want their names on their back of their jerseys, but you put them on the fencings. It's so inexpensive, you know, $300, $400. My one story I tell is that we were playing my neighbor in softball championship. I think my daughter was in 4th grade at the time, and of course my team was sponsored by me, and her team was sponsored by me. So she put black tape over my name, which is a great example to teach kids, and we kicked her butt. But anyway, that was, you know, it's just the advertising is so inexpensive, and you know what? Kids keep those shirts for years. Obviously they grow out of them, but they pass them on to somebody else. So that to me, I think, is a really, really, you know, again, inexpensive way to market it. So just, what else? The realtor tours are really big, and to me, when I first started with Mark, my thing was to go all the realtor tours because Mark didn't want to do that. And the realtor tours work two ways for me. Number one, you meet other agents. You may not always like the other agents, but you'd be surprised, and you guys know this, I've been doing this for a little while, when you have, if you're lucky enough to get 2 offers on a deal, if you know the one agent and don't know the other agent, we can't tell your client, take this person, but you can say, I've worked, you know, I've done 5 deals with this person, I don't know this person, which is pretty much say, take this deal, because you know it gets done, and that's familiarity with the agents, and I think to me that's real important, and also, the reason why I like the realtor tours, to go on the inventory, and I find a lot of the people, the newer agents, do not want to go on realtor tours, they feel it's a waste of time. When I go on a listing, I want to know every house that's in my area, and I know you guys probably agree. I see you shaking your head there. I'm shaking your head positively. You got to know the inventory because, yeah, I know you can all look at an MLS and say, okay, beautiful picture, but the client's going to say to you when you go on a listing, maybe they're interviewing 4 people, have you seen the competing houses? When you say no, they're going to think maybe you're lazy, it can hurt you. So I want to know every house that's being on the market right now, if possible, especially if it's similar to the one that I'm going on a listing appointment. And when you can tell the seller, this is why yours is better, not better, here's what it needs to be, that goes a long way when I go on my appointments. It also helps you with pricing. It helps you learn, you know, what the prices are going for, and so, hey, I know this house was priced here, it dropped here, boom, boom. So it's just, the more, to me, the tours are so important, and I'm amazed. In North Central, we had a problem about 6 or 8 months ago. A lot of the younger agents weren't going on a tour. And I started calling all the brokers that are in our area, and I told the broker to say, look, this is, you know how important tours are. She goes, yeah. I said, why don't, yeah, we'll send you a reminder. We were down to, and our tour's been in existence for about 30 years. We were getting sometimes like 20, 25, or 15 people. It had to be, I had to put on what we call the blackmail tour, where I had to put money up to get people to come to the tours. And by all of a sudden publicizing the tours now, we're up to almost 45, 50 people, and the average age has gone from 70 to like 20, 25, which I love seeing the younger people on the tours, and I think that's so important to get, yeah, I know it's a 2 or 3 hour deal, but you get to see what's out there, you get to see how other agents interact, and you learn things that you may say, I don't like the way that agent does. Well, that's fine, but you're around them and watch them, but how do they market their house, and of course the lunch house being the last house. You just learn from other agents how they publicize their homes, ask questions, but to me, being around, when I came to HomeSmart, I created this group called the Elite Group, and to me, it was so important. Number one is to bring people over to HomeSmart, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job too, but I also want to see agents talking to each other. It pisses me off when I first started off in the bullpen. I love just hearing what other people have to say, hearing them talk about their listings, hearing them talking about their buyers, just learning. But too many people, and I'm not saying it's wrong, are working out of their houses, and I'm going, you can't learn stuff sitting at home all the time. I mean, some of you guys can, maybe a lot more disciplined than I am, but I love being around people. And now, when we have our monthly meetings, I got Bill Gray coming a couple of times, I got Michael Orr, and doing, we'll get like 200-300 people for 2 hours at our meetings, and the first half hour is lunch and watching agents network with each other. I'm telling you that, I'm looking at them going, this is cool, this is why I did this, and it's just, you know, and again, I don't have to do this, I love doing it. I'm really passionate about watching other agents network with each other. I just think that's real important, and it helps with feedback. You know, if you have I know a lot of times on listings, if I'm struggling on various houses, there's no ego involved, I'll call 4 or 5 agents and go, look, help me, come over here, let's reprice this thing, tell me what I'm doing wrong here. And I don't want them to be nice. I mean, they're not going to be nice to me anyway. I don't want them to share. I go, and you feed them so they'll be somewhat nice, but I want to know what I'm doing wrong. Why isn't this listing, because I've only got maybe 2 more months, and also makes it look good for you on the listing that you're the seller, hey, here's another way I'm marketing, doing something out of the box, I'm bringing other realtors to come over here. And I know these are my competitors, but also they have functions that they want me to come to and price their houses. So we don't have, again, as I said earlier, you don't have to like your competitors, but you help use it. You guys use each other, and that's, to me, I don't see a lot of that. We're seeing more and more. I know sometimes you have these, there's a time of day, like 5 to 7, sometimes it's not easy for people to do. But I like doing during lunchtime. Here's an hour, you need 6 of you guys to help me come price this house. So it's just interacting with the other agents. Magnus talking about PR team, signage, okay. Just kind of, again, I said earlier, I don't want to be a luxury agent. I don't want to categorize myself as a particular agent. I know Jan Ross, who's been around for a long, long time, she said something like from condos to castles, which I thought was a magnificent way of marketing herself. Jeff Paulette is another good buddy of mine, and I kind of stole one of his ideas recently in my deal because I was part of a team. And when you're part of a team, when you go on a listing appointment, you talk about the team concept, okay? That's what you're, now all of a sudden, the last 20 years, I've been working by myself, and I go, well, don't you have another, you do it by yourself? I go, yeah. And I go, because when you hire me, you get me. So, I mean, when you're by yourself, you have to have some way to combat 4 people or 3 people on a team. And I know is that when I was part of a team, I'm not saying any of you guys are part of this, but when I was part of Mark Moskowitz's team, we go on the listing appointment, and they didn't hire me, they hired Mark. But they never saw Mark again, and unfortunately got the house sold and kind of helped me get my name out there. But that's what happens with the big teams. I mean, you know, the big gun is you get in the listing, which is great, and you're a new agent or not as experienced agent. You got the listing now, but I'm going, that's not who they hired, but you know, it works. So now I'm diffusing the team concept because I'm solo. So, you know, take whatever your marketing that works the best for you. If you're part of a team, the team works great, we can help each other out. Sometimes it's kind of BS, but the sellers don't have to know that, so, all right. I know we got 10 more minutes, so kind of, so here's another thing. So what I'm doing, so preparing for the listing appointment. So here's some of the things. First of all, I have a shitty package when I go on my listing, because especially if it's an area that I know I'm going to get it. But the comps, guys, are so important. I know you all know that, but that's why I said I go to Zillow. I know Zillow's got a ridiculous number, but just know that your client that you're going on the listing appointment knows what Zillow says. And you can diffuse it by saying, here's what, I'm laughing because he was only here 5 minutes. I really think you learned a lot. But when you go on a listing appointment, it's the more information you have. The comps are so important. And understand, like in North Central, the problem we have, some of our homes that have been flipped are showing like 1950, but they're really 2019 new construction. Would be stuff, but you have to show the comps from 2000, whatever it was built. You can say, here's the remodel. I get it, Mr. and Ms. Seller, that you think you're a 2019 house, but you're not, because they left a stem wall, it was remodeled. So compare apples to apples, because trust me, if you guys are like me, somebody's going to turn you in. Somebody's always turning me in, trying to get me fined, which I've been lucky hasn't happened. But be consistent with your comps. If you're going on a house listing that's got this much square footage and as much as you possibly know about it, have the comps that support that, because your seller, all this information your seller's going to know, and the more information that you can support that they already know, that you hopefully do know, you're going to look that much smarter. And especially, I have a little bit of edge because I'm in an area that I sell a lot in. But when I go head to head with somebody in Paradise Valley, I know I'm probably going to get blown out of the water. I'm hoping I know them well enough where they'll hire me. But the comps are so important, and hopefully that's where I go back to where I said the realtor tours. Hopefully you know the houses that you're going to be trying to get the listing on. It just really helps. Again, I talk about referring out. I really like, and I know we all can look on the internet and stuff. I really like, how many, I always laugh because this shows at my age. How many guys subscribe to Arizona Republic besides me? You're old too, okay, you're old, okay. I will tell you that, I mean, truthfully, this is how big the newspaper was Monday. But what I like about the Republic, it's local stuff. I like Fridays because on Fridays they tell you, I mean, you can always look it up, but the zip codes in your area, even though maybe I didn't look for the week, what's sold in the area, that really helps. The Business Journal also is a very inexpensive. It's like $86 a year, plus they have the book a list. But the Business Journal also will give you all the, you know, from pretty much 400,000 all the way to 10 million, whatever sold there. I love looking at that. The only thing when I see that, what pisses me off is when I see a client that I know bought a house, I go, well, anyway, but that's, you know, but that happens. That's the only thing, that's the downer when you see a familiar name that you go, I thought they liked me, but again, people aren't really loyal. So I do like the stats. The Crawford Report is all, I pay for it, I have them speak in my meetings. How many guys do the Crawford Report? It really, I'll tell you why I like it, even though I don't utilize it. The only time I really have utilized it, especially in a luxury deal, if you go to somebody, a seller, and say, we really need to reduce this price because it really is too high, it's always nice to have a third-party endorsement, like the Crawford Report. It says this neighborhood, this price range is a little bit slower than other parts of town. That does help sometimes, you know, it's just more ammunition. A couple of things, I know I got about 5-6 minutes, I'll stay as long as you guys want me to. Overpriced listings. So I got at one of my classes before, somebody asked me, do you take overpriced listings? And I take all listings. But I try to, because again, that's another sign in my area. I know it's frustrating sometimes, but I try to have some kind of come-to meeting with the seller going, look, we'll try this number, just know that it's priced too high, but let's have the real estate tour. I really try to have the real estate tours, because in our area, I usually get about 2 or 3 homes every tour, every 2 weeks. I try to get the tours to come back, and when the tours come back with the pricing where it should be here, and the seller may not always agree with that number, but now you've got to establish, here's what the realtors in your neighborhood say. The other thing I'm doing a little bit more lately, if I know that I have a signed listing, it's a little bit more expensive, and I'm cheaper than hell. I don't like to spend money if I don't have to. I actually will, once I know I have a listing, I actually sometimes I'll get an appraisal. And the reason for the appraisal sometimes is, especially if it's somebody that you know, a family member or a really, really good friend, if you're lucky enough to have those, which I don't have. But if you have a friend that says, Bobby, we want to hire you, but your price sucks, I go, let me get an appraisal. Let me get an appraisal. And here's a prime example. I had an appraisal done for this house 2 years ago. Came in at $1,050,000. My client, because he had 2 smart-ass kids, kind of like my kids, listed it for $1,350,000. We used up 3 months, 4 months. We finally ended up getting it out to $1,001,000. That's what we sold it for. But the problem there, we had the appraisal, so that in the back of their mind, they knew it's the value. But the problem I was trying to tell them, every 2, 3, 4 weeks that go by, you're hurting yourself on value. If you know the real value is here, and I get it, you want to try to fluff it a little bit and list a little bit higher, but the more days you use in the market, then that starts working against you, because we all know we look at days on market, especially if it was listed before. But everybody's an expert on real estate, and it's frustrating. I got one right now I'm fighting, and we're already in 30 days. I always tell the sellers when I go to a listing appointment, the first 2 or 3 weeks, advantage you. After that, it starts working against you a little bit, especially when you start getting 30 days, 60 days, and you probably could have gotten, and you guys know it, after 4 or 5 months, you finally sell it, but the seller probably cost himself $20,000, $30,000 just because of ego. It's just part of the game. So, yes, sir.
I'm in that situation right now. So
Okay.
how do you have that conversation when you've tried everything and they're in no hurry to sell? How do you?
Did you do a 6-month listing or?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard. I'd probably get them drunk or something, or I would just tell them that I go back to the comps and say, here's the comps in your area, here's what's sold recently, and just know, you're gonna get to the point where you're batting your head up against the wall, you're not gonna win, but hopefully you still have 60 days. I never give up a listing if I do it for 6 months, except to one species of human beings. Can you guys guess what it is? Lawyers. Because you can't win with them. And if any of you guys are lawyers, I'm just saying, I know that they're going to challenge you, and they have nothing but time. And as much as my male ego, I don't want to give up the listing. It just, sometimes you have to. But I would say you just got to sit down with them. Here's the comps. Knowing that every time, okay, so if in 30 to 60 more days that the listing is up, just know that you're going to have to show that many days, that the CDOM stays, and now the new agent, let's just take it off for bless you. Unless you want to take it for 90 days, and 91 days you take it off the market, now you've lost 3 months. It's just, here's the comps. I mean, I can't tell anything more than that. Now, of course, the first thing, are you going to reduce your commission? No. I mean, it's not me that did anything wrong. I'm doing everything that's why I'm really, really important when you go on listing appointments, don't make promises that you can't keep, because they're going to take notes, and just know that they could have a recording there. Everything you said, that's where they can work against you on your listing. So you promised me you were going to do an aerial drone. You promised me you're going to advertise here. I never told you that. Want to hear this? So make sure that, but if you're doing everything you said you can, and the comps just basically say, here's the comps, it's frustrating. It really is. But
Do you set up a time limit, like say, okay, look, we can go fishing for 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks we gotta drop to this is where it's at.
You know, the fishing deal that I do is the tour. I really try to do, because they're not gonna, they always say, yeah, I hear you, I'll listen to you, I know my time's up. But you know what, at the end of the day, the tour helps, the tour at least sets a number in their mind. Here's the real value of the property. But you know what, again, it's one of those things that I'm telling you, the best thing that could ever happen is I don't set a time limit with people. I may say, look, we're lucky enough the first week we've had 5 showings, and they've all said the same thing. Make sure, and what I really, if you guys are buyer's agents, what really frustrates me as a listing agent is when the buyer's agents do not return my phone call or do not return the email. Do that. You got to be considerate, because you're going to ask that. So I send the feedback to the sellers and just say, here's what people are saying over and over again. But the longer you go, the more it's going to hurt you. And I just set that timing right there when I first go on the appointment, and say, just know the more days we sit here, the more it's going to cost you. Yeah, go ahead. Again, if you guys need to leave, I'm fine. I'll stick around for you.
So when the new year
You
starts,
don't have to leave. I was just kidding. No, you're fine. I like to embarrass people.
when the new year starts and the clock resets, like you were talking about
Yeah.
before, what are the core things that you do to continue to dominate your local market?
Good question. I think what I try to do is I just try to think of new ways to advertise. I don't copy other people's ideas at work. I'm just sitting there sober as a judge now. I mean, I never, but when I had my nightclub, I wasn't always a good boy. But now I go, I think I just sit there and I just try to think of what can I do differently to market this house. What am I doing wrong? What can I do differently? And a lot of it's still the same thing, but I also I try to get down and go, I've got to just do something maybe different. Maybe I learn something. That's why I go on tour sometimes. You watch what other people do, that you make, and steal ideas. Whatever ideas you're stealing from people, they've stolen from somebody else. So I never say that I have done it. But the other thing I think is real important too is do good flyers. And I look at some of these homes that photos. Yeah, do good flyers, do good photos. I mean, I don't even know how to use my camera on my phone. I do for my dogs and kids, I do. But spend the money to get a good photographer. And that's what I'll say. If I'm not happy with the photographer I have now, I'm gonna hire a new photographer, get good pictures, and that really show the house out. Because what you also gotta remember, guys, is when you do these real good flyers and do real good brochures, a prospective buyer or seller may be coming in, if you do the open houses, may come in and go, I like what this person's doing. They know, they may ask you, they may act ignorant, do you know what this house sold for next door? When you start telling them stuff that helps you. So I think I always I want to just have the ammunition, and more importantly, just have the flyers, just do a really good job, be the best, at that marketing, that area. And I love it when some young person says to me, I'm going to kick your butt. It just fires me up a little bit, more than a little bit. So I go, you know what, I'm not going to, and I know I have an edge in them because I don't sleep. They like to, I know my kids are out till, 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning like we all used to do. So I know I have an edge that I'm up early. But I think it's just different ways of marketing and advertising, stuff like that.
Okay.
Anybody else have any? Again, I appreciate you guys having me here. Thank you very
Why
much.
did you hate showing time? It said in the class.
Okay, so,
Why hate showing
so one
time?
of her questions is, showing time. So, how many guys use showing time? Okay. Let me tell you why. How do you know that I had that on there? Where'd
It
you
was
see
in
it?
the class description.
Okay. I hate showing time. Let me tell you why, guys. I am predominantly a listing agent, alright? If you're showing a house of mine that I'm pointing to you because I want you to just pretend.
Focus.
So, focus on it, yeah. So if you're showing a house of mine and you've never been to my area before, you know nothing about my house, you know nothing about my area, I want to help you sell my house. So showing time allows, in my opinion, agents to be lazy. The big key is I answer the phone. So if you call me and say, you're not on showing time, yes, but I'm going to tell you, why is this house being listed? Where are they moving to? Because you got to realize all the information that you have as a realtor on your on the internet, on our MLS, your client has that. So I want, as an agent, I want you to have different information your client has, so you can add more to it. If you don't know the area, why are your people moving the area? The schools. Let me tell you where all the schools are in the area. I'm just trying to give people helping hand. And I'm not going to knock a company because that is not my deal. I'm not a big fan of Redfin, and I'll tell you that, and I'm not being mean, but I find Redfin doesn't have a lot of relationships with their clients. So when the Redfin agents call me from their 1-800 number, and I'm saying, guys, especially them, I'm going to try to help you because I know you probably don't even know who your client is until you meet them the first time. I'm going to give you some information that's going to help you list my house, sell my house. That's why I don't like them all. But to me, I know it's easy. Some of you guys, when I first started, fortunately I didn't have those old books, but I just think the more communication I can have with agents, telling them and I'm not arrogant at all. I'm just telling them what my house has, because again, I'm gonna repeat it, their client has the same information because it goes right to the internet. So I just try to help that agent sell my house. That's a great question. 2 questions?
Yeah, sorry. I'm afraid you're gonna leave. And
I'm not leaving.
So what would
We both lived here.
Okay, that's fine.
so Bobby Lieb is
I'm not getting paid, so I hope your son's
Bobby Lieb is starting out in 2019.
But you're building
and,
image.
Okay.
and he's new.
Right.
He hasn't been around for 27 years.
Right.
What does the current Bobby Lieb tell the newcomer Bobby Lieb about breaking through?
Get a mentor. I think that's the first, because I meet with a lot of agents. And again, if you guys have to go, I hope you don't, but I appreciate it. I think to me, the best, smartest decision I ever made is having a mentor for 4 or 5 years. I absorbed so much from them. There was Ronnie Gilbert is another guy. If you guys know Ronnie, he's still 85 years old, still the smartest guy ever. And what was cool about Ronnie is Mark was my true mentor. When I asked Mark questions, it was how it benefited Mark with money in his pocket. But Ronnie, one day, after about 5 years ago, Bobby, it's time for you to leave. You've been here long enough, and I did that. But I think the mentor thing, learning from other people, learning from other agents, and finding a good fit for you. I mean, I knew Mark. How I first met Mark was he used to come to my nightclub with airplane alcohol. I go, dude, you got money, buy alcohol. So anyway, that's how I started. Great way to first. But you know what? I go. The thing is, you have to have somebody. Because the real estate schools are great, and Bill Gray, I have lunch with Bill probably once a month, and the schools are there to teach you how to pass the test. They're not teaching you how to deal with the real world. And the mentor thing, when I sit down with, and I'll meet with 10 people a week at the same time and say, you got to have a mentor. And one guy said, well, I just sold my grandfather's house. I go, great. What do you do now? I mean, you've lost your one grandparent. And they're lost. And I'm watching some of these people 2 years later, they're scrambling, they don't know what they're doing. So to me, the mentor for 3 years, I mean, I don't know how you can absorb everything in this business in 6 months or a year. I mean, you give up. I gave Mark, a lot of money for 5 years, but this is a long-term business. A lot of you guys are young and you can be here for a long time. I plan on being here as long as I can. But I think the mentor is probably, I can't emphasize it more, to be, and I don't care, even if you've been in the business for a long time, work with somebody until, you know, I don't like having a partner, but I definitely absorbed Mark's information and expertise, cause he would been doing it for 20 years, and that's probably good. Anything else? Okay. Guys, thank you again. So if you do wanna come a 3-hour city class, let me know. I'm doing, I think next one's in June, like the third week on a Monday. Hey, good to see you, man.
How are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a newsletter, but I have most of the news. Okay. I know each of the subdivisions have, don't they don't do that?
Yeah, that's really great.
Okay. Yeah.
We still have no stuff.
It's just, yeah. Right. And a lot of people don't live in town. either. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Right.
And central, south of the
You know, the postcards, what I would do, I would get.
Okay. What is it?
Right.
You care if I mark
And
it?
people like that. They want to see you're human. And I think that was really a big deal that people know that you're not, that you have a life and your kids are important in your life. Just so,
I'm sure that was, that's a good,
I think that's smart. Just do a postcard first, I mean, or something. But not just to that main subdivision, because again, a lot of those guys go downtown.
Yeah.
Didn't they have a potato juice or something, like some potato?
That was great, met good people, great officers.
Do the cards at first. You do the cards at first.
I like the jokes, I love it, I went through it all the time.
Coyotes.
Yeah, he was dancing around.
Little tiny stuff.